let's see if we can get this thing going here, and let's build on that. Let's build on it. All right, so we finished up Mao yesterday, and we did a little assessing, and we come to a conclusion that he's pretty much a totalitarian, and he can rank with Hitler and Stalin. Now, today I want us to look at.
Good morning, Parker. Excuse me. This is Sarah.
Oh my gosh.
Apologies for that. We are here to announce the future winners of our first hour drawing. I'm going to go back and just announce this is Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. So please, if you have to thank teachers for their hard work and dedication. Before we draw, we want to thank all teachers on our team for your incredible hard work, caring compassion, and for being genuinely incredible people. We are so lucky to have you here at Park High School. In addition, we want to congratulate physical education teacher Steph Tolkinen for being an education all-star. Congratulations, Ms. Tolkinen.
There you go.
Nick Iserino and Miss Acosta. Congratulations. The prize will be delivered to you. Thank you, Park High School teachers, and they did a great day.
All right, there we go. Drawing time. All right. So get back on track here. You'll have an opportunity to look at one other authoritarian. They're very interesting, and in a moment we'll take a look at that list there. But one thing that we see, as I was coming into work today, I was listening on the radio, and they were talking about the quest for democracy, and that around the world there seems to be a desire for more democracy, and which prompted me to kind of dig a little bit more into looking into that. And there is a report out there called the Economist Intelligence Unit, all right, a democracy index. Where in the world can we find the most democratic countries? And this report is actually put out by The Economist. Has anyone ever heard of that media outlet called The Economist? Okay, some might have. And if we look at, bias with the Economist, it tends to be centrist or left-leaning. So remember, whenever we look at stuff, we got to take that into consideration as well. It's more international journalism. It is respected, but again, you need to know the bias piece there with it. And you look at this map here, and what does it say about the United States? If you look at that. Flawed democracy. It is like one of the first times since the democracy index has come out. It has been coming out since 1946 that the United States is moved into the flawed democracy category. Now, they've looked at about 167 countries there, as it says, 167 countries, and they are looking at a number of measures. All right, when we were looking at authoritarians, we had some measures to look at. When they look at democracies, the measures that they're looking at is the electoral process and pluralism, meaning multiple political parties. All right, and the United States, do we have more than two parties? Not really, but do we? Yeah, we do. But we have two main political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, and they seem to be around forever. Democrats since about the 1820s, the Republicans since about the 1850s. In that time period, they've been around. They've changed their ideology at times. And then we have a number of third parties, all right? And those who may have voted in the last election. Anyone in here vote in the last election? Okay, I should say you didn't have to raise your hand, but so I did see, and you probably saw a number of candidates on there for different parties, right? Absolutely, you're like, holy cow, who are these people? I remember teaching political science, and that was our task, was to go out and find the third parties and what they believe in. You never know. You know, at the time, you know, when I taught it, well, I got to go back to like 2000, there was a Darth Vader party. Thought that was kind of interesting, the Darth Vader party out there. To be a legitimate third party, though, you really got to have a platform, and then you got to get together and have conventions and all that stuff and get people to run. In Minnesota, at one time, we did have what we would consider a period of time where we had 3 major parties. And in Minnesota, to consider major parties, you had to get at least 10% of the vote in a county. And so we had the Reformist Party and the Taxpayer Party at times get that status there. All right, getting back here. So the pluralism, the functioning of government, political participation as well. And that means, you know, people willing to get involved in the process, willing to vote, all right? In Minnesota, we always have a high level of participation. That, you know, we hang our hat on that piece there. All right, and then also looking at the political culture, meaning winners and losers accept the results. Okay, that's part of the political culture, knowing that there's going to be a transition and all that stuff to go with it, and of course civil liberties and so forth with that. So with that, looking at that map, about a third of the world lives in an authoritarian, under authoritarian rule. All right, so here, you know, we're looking at authoritarian states, or we have been. Today, well, 2020, 2021, we could say about a third of the world still is in authoritarian regimes. So we have that piece there. With that being said, 23% of those up there are considered full democracies. 52% are considered, 52 countries, 23 are, let's go back, 23 are full democracies, 52 are flawed democracies, we fit in that category, and 35 are considered hybrid regimes. So why would the United States fit in flawed democracy? What do you think? What do you think is putting us in there? What do you think might have be putting us in there? You want to speculate? Oh, we just got to think to our last election. All right, let's think back to our last election. Was it a little intense? Oh yeah. Is anyone still in a kind of feel a little tense? You know, there are some people. I mean, I'll talk to my daughter and she says, you know, I don't know if I feel like, you know, I still feel, you know, tense. You know, what's going on? Yeah, there was a lot of tension. Why? Why was there tension? What do you got? Okay, so accepting the results. Some people aren't accepting the results. Okay, so that's part of it. What else? What do you think? Probably the big one right there, right? To go along with accepting results, not accepting results, is what do we think about trust? Trust in government and our institutions, high or low? It's low. It's low. So we got to this point where we distrust our institutions. I guess we have to go back to the 60s to kind of get a sense of that level of distrust for our institutions and our political parties as well. And so there is a lot of parallels to the 1960s and what's going on here. Now, what about voter participation, though? Did we have a greater increase in this last election? Well, heck, we did. We did. So despite having increased voter participation, we still have distrust in our government, distrust in our parties, and don't accept the results there. And how about, can we even have a discourse? Can we even talk about it without getting upset? Does it seem like being able to talk about it, we can remain civil? I see some heads going this way. It seems like we become very polarized as well. And you get to family functions, and sometimes it breaks down that way. You're almost at the family functions like, wait a minute here. Then come here, talk about politics. We're going to talk about politics. Then we're going to get back in the car, and we're going to go. Whatever we want to talk about, anything else. That's what it seems like it has become. That is what's pushed us into this flawed democracy. Good thing it's fixable. It's fixable, all that stuff. So with that being said, where did we fall? Out of 167, where did we fall in here? We are, based on all the indexes and crunching the numbers and all that stuff, we're number 25. We're number 25. We are just on the outside. Because remember, 23 are considered full democracies. Ooh, we are so close. We can get there. We can get there. All right. So where is the worst? Not a real shocker where the worst 167 is. It's right there. That would be, what spot is that? North Korea. North Korea. So not surprised there. It's on a scale of like 0 to 10. 0 to 10. We got 7.92 based on all the indexes. North Korea, 1.08. So they're a little low. So where is the best? Who is number one? Who is number one? No, it is not Canada. Where is number one? It is a Scandinavian country. Yes, it is. You are so close. It is this one right here. It is Norway. All right. What is interesting is I think most of the Scandinavian countries are actually led by women. All right. And we tend to find countries where there are more up here. I think you will find that they're led by women. All right. Kind of got goosebumps thinking about that here, in terms of talking about politics. And even if we look at politics in the United States, women on both sides of the aisle, they may be politically differ, but somehow they are able to find better consensus. All right. So think about that. Leader of Norway, and this will be my last one here because I kind of like her nickname. Her name is Erna Solberg, and she's got the nickname Iron Erna. Iron Erna. She is a conservative. She's a conservative, and we sometimes think of Scandinavians as kind of a socialist liberal region. Norway and others in there tend to have a still pretty vibrant conservative party, but they are a multi-party state, so their governments tend to be made up of coalitions, and so that might also mean you got to work a little bit more together than if you just have two main parties there. All right, so I just want to throw that out there. One, build on what I heard on the radio today, but then also think about that as we move into our case study, because some of the places that we're going to go or you might look at, are going to be in this area, and some down here as well. And so we're not going to be really like, okay, the data today kind of indicates we still are a region that is having problems. Okay. So with that said, got any thoughts? Any thoughts on that? You surprised at all? So again, you look at where the democracies are occurring, you know, it's a thing. Remember, there's a lot of post-World War II colonial wars that took place here and here, and so they're still transitioning. Here, of course, you know, in Latin America, perhaps greater time to experiment with democratic systems, you know, once they broke away from Spain. And of course, that could be the influence of the United States, which I also think, you know, I heard on the radio, and I got to dig a little bit more into it. Some view a threat to democracy could be what is happening in the United States. So I think that's going to be very interesting. And of course, Europe, you know, is in that category as well with in this part, but takes time. Eastern part of Europe, though, is kind of in the hybrid area. All right, enough with that. All right, just something to think about. So when we look at authoritarian states, just as we want to look at the leader, we want to look at the conditions, we want to look at how they rose to power, we want to look at how they maintain it, and of course, decline. So with that, let's just go right to Schoology here and go to the authoritarian case study. All right. And when I get done talking, I'm going to need to know, or by the time you leave class today, I'm going to need to know which authoritarian you want to work on. Okay. So I got a lot of attachments, so we don't have to worry about those attachments yet. But here's the assignment. So let's open that up. And it's going to look like this. And you can work with a historical buddy up to, there can be 3 in your little group here. 3. All right, so a little triad is a possibility. Okay, we just got to be careful. We got to be careful with the social distancing as we play around with this activity. And we're going to have, I think, plenty of time, because this will be ultimately, you might want to write it somewhere, ultimately due next Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday. Now, I know between now and next Wednesday, we might have some big distractors out there that could influence us, all right? We have prom coming up, don't we? All right, we got prom coming up. Okay. So with that being said, you're going to research and analyze an authoritarian of a single party state, just like we did with Mao, Stalin, and Hitler. All right. In the past, I used to showcase this as, you know, we are casting the latest episode of Survivor, the Ultimate Authoritarian. And we're going to shove these 10 people on an island and see who walks away the winner. All right. But we modify it. We have to modify it based on this year. So the premise of the cast here is, and so this is going to be very persuasive. You got to try to persuade. Cast for the next fictional survivor. There'll be 10. And so there are 3 authoritarians guaranteed a spot on the show: Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, and Mao. All right. And so 7 more need to get on. You're going to be using your historical buddy or buddies. In some ways are going to be the agents for this authoritarian, and you're going to put together a persuasive portfolio, you know, to in some ways showcase the good and the bad side of them as an authoritarian, why they might be an ultimate authoritarian. Okay, you got to play around with the info. So here are our potential cast of authoritarians. All right, you have Juan Perón of Argentina. He has a very dynamic wife, Eva, Broadway musical on her as well. You got Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt. He is one of the few that could actually what we call unite the Arab world. All right, he's very dynamic. Pol Pot can demonstrate how you can destroy a country and eliminate about 25% of your population. Money is details. And you want to turn back the hand of time to 0. You got Idi Amin, Big Daddy of Uganda. You got Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. You have Fidel Castro, all right, guy in our own backyard. You got Augusto Pinochet of Chile. You got Vladimir Lenin, all right. We've looked at Stalin, referenced Lenin, but here you can spotlight Lenin. Robert Mugabe, who just recently had been deposed as leader of Zimbabwe, and I think he might have just passed away too. Kim Il-sung, so the founder of North Korea. and Benito Mussolini, El Duce, father of fascism, and then Francisco Franco of Spain. We looked at him a little bit with the Spanish Civil War, and then you got Saddam Hussein, right? Friend, foe to the United States, depending on what era, all of that. Okay, so granted, I do have some handouts related to these individuals attached, but I also have a cart full of books over there, and there's also a link that has lots of resources that has been put together too. So there's plenty of information. So you're going to formulate your team. So today you got to figure out if you're going to work solo or with a team, and then you got to figure out which authoritarian you're going to pick on, or you're going to pick, and I'm going to need to know that. And then you're going to work on the process of putting together your persuasive visual portfolio. All right, and I'm going to need to hear your voice on it. We're not going to present it to class. I'm going to sit down with my Diet Cokes and I'll listen to it. All right. And what needs to go into it is basically what we have done with these other authoritarians. We want to get a little bit of background, because sometimes their background influences them. All right, and so just a little bit of background, a little bio on it. That's where some of those fun facts could come in, like maybe they are a champion downhill skier, or they're a world champion boxer, or a world champion fencer, whatever it might be. Rise to power, their methods, events, people, ideological statements, all that stuff. How did they rise to power? You know, some of them might because of a civil war goes on. Or, you know, the country's in a political chaos. Policies, focus on at least 3 big ones. All right? We don't want to have a laundry list of it, but focus on 3 that are big ones that might be far-reaching and show success. Okay? Decline and fall, of course, in there as well. Some of them, they die in office. Others, it's a coup. One guy, Juan Perón, heck, you know, rises to power through, one could say, a coup, gets elected a couple times, then get deposed in a coup, and then comes back a couple decades later, only to die in office. And his political party, the Peronist Party, is still in Argentina, and the current president of Argentina belongs to that party. So Juan Perón may not have the name recognition of like Joseph Stalin, but his party still has some leg to it. Other key information that you feel that might be important to share, you know, stuff like that. Visual clips, there are plenty of little visual clips out there, so you can get that in there. So if we're looking at a 7 to 10 minute visual portfolio, your visual clip shouldn't be more than 2 minutes to add in there. The bulk of it needs to be information coming from you, and I need to hear it from you, but it's always nice to augment. I mean, it's the 20th century. They're well documented for some of them. Okay? So any questions on that piece? Now to add a few more layers to it, you need to include in here somewhere where this authoritarian might fit on the learner profile. IB learner profile. All right. You know, and so what does the IB learner profile look like? Well, I did have an attachment there. Oh, here, let's find it. There we go. This is the IB learner profile with definitions. All right. I think they're all going to probably be risk takers. All right. But, you know, one of the characteristics of being an effective leader might be your ability to communicate. All right. You know, they're authoritarians. Is it possible for them to be caring? They're authoritarians. Is it possible for them to be open-minded? All right. So pick the ones that fit. I would say 2 or 3. Just don't go through and have a laundry list. Maybe 2 or 3. Is what we're looking at there. And then also the characteristics. So I have a handout of that also attached to it. And the characteristics, This, remember, is what you have looked at when we evaluated Hitler, Stalin, and Mao. So now you're doing the same thing. So this is more like at the end of your presentation, I would say, your visual portfolio is making that final pitch, why you think your authoritarian is a totalitarian. And focus on, again, maybe 2 or 3 elements of this characteristics that showcase, yes, Juan Perón is an authoritarian, belongs to be with Hitler, Stalin, and Mao for these reasons. Right? Give a good persuasive argument there. Okay? All right. I just got a lot of tabs. A lot of tabs. All right. And then, and this can be submitted separately on paper, you know, in a PDF, your sources, but you can also put that at the end of your presentation as well. I need to see what kind of sources that you're using. And if you're using any of the handouts that I have attached, I have the books in the classroom here. So if you use it, you can just simply, Mr. Newman, can I see the book that this is from to get the information for the bibliography. All right. 20 beautiful points, summative, due Wednesday. This is what we'll be working on. I might take a few minutes of the class, about 10 minutes each day, to kind of talk a little bit about this or some things related to it, but most of the time it should be here. If you need space to record, you can always go out to the hall and record at that moment. But I would expect the next couple of days is more about R&D, research and develop, find some stuff. Okay, any questions about this? Any? Straightforward? Any questions? Overwhelmed? Are we allowed comments in bed? Any questions? Okay, so what I will leave you here, we've got about 45, what do we got here? About 45 minutes? 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes here. Those at home, you need to put a message to me, either in the chat or send me a message that who your authoritarian is. Those that are here, I will probably walk around and I'll ask, okay? So if there's no questions, I'll just let you work on it. Yep. And we can have duplicates.